Good morning, friends. How are you today? It's Heather at Bush Poppy Farm. I had hoped to be out at the farm yesterday and today moving compost, but it's been raining. On and off, not steady rain, but when it comes down. So yesterday I tried, but I got sick of getting super wet and cold. So I decided we're going to be inside in the greenhouse. So today we're going to be focusing on tubers. I'm going to plant some ginger. I'd like to grow ginger this year. Now I'm in zone 9B. It should do okay, but I don't think I'm going to be able to overwinter this. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go on and sprout it in trays, and then I think we're going to pot it up and it'll stay in large pots that I can then move inside or in the greenhouse in the wintertime. Because I think, we can go down into the upper 20s in the winter, and I think that's just not going to work for ginger. So the next set of tubers we're going to deal with today are dahlias, and I'm going to be pre-sprouting those so that I can take cuttings, and then when the other tubers arrive in the mail, we'll get everything ready to be sprouted to go in the ground. Okay, so what I have here is a 10-20 tray with a light layer of just some basic organic peat-free potting mix. And I'm going to take my ginger tubers here, and you can see there's an eye here and an eye here. These are growth points that will send up shoots for the ginger to start to produce a plant. And I'm just going to lay them here in the soil. Same thing here. Here's a growth point here. These will end up being growth points. They just haven't come up yet. So I'm just going to put them in the soil like that. We've got some growth points here and here. So this one's going to go flat. And now this is a big tray, but I'm actually hoping to add, so I'm going to try to keep the ginger on this side. I'm hoping to add turmeric on this other side here. And then we've got a couple more growth points. These are all growth points, but these two are starting to come up already. And then all I have to do is cover them with soil. Now, these guys need to sit on a seedling heat mat because they will start sending up shoots best in temperatures between 72 and 78 degrees Fahrenheit. So since my ambient temperature in the greenhouse is a little bit colder than that right now, since we're in March and we still are getting cold at night, I want to keep them on a heat mat so they can have a consistent temperature, and that will help them sprout. You don't want it to be too hot because that actually can damage the rhizome. So 72 to 78 degrees roughly is about what you want. And then it's kind of, this is like Goldilocks, right? You know, you want it to be just right. Watering is the same. Not too much, not too little. Just kind of evenly moist soil. And this soil in here is kind of already moist because the bag I got had been outside at the nursery. So it's a little bit damp in places. Yep, and we'll just keep that evenly moist. Sit this guy on a seedling heat mat, and in about 4 to 6 weeks, we should have ginger sprouts. They'll be ready to transplant when they're 4 to 6 inches high. Okay, so I have my dahlia tuber crate here in front of me. This has been sitting in the garage since the fall. These are some tubers that I pulled out of the ground at Fish Ranch. And I packed them in vermiculite, so hopefully they're all good. But if not, if I have some rotting ones or they're all rotted or dried out or desiccated or whatever, it's okay. I have ordered new tubers, and I started dahlias from seed and they're already germinating. Dahlias germinate from seed really quickly. So either way, I'll be good. If this whole crop is ruined, it'll be okay. I mean, I don't want that to be the case, but if it is, it'll be okay. Open this up here. And basically what I'm going to be doing is, oh, some of them have already, oh, no, okay. I thought they'd already started sprouting, but this is the flagging tape. Actually, they look great. Okay, so I haven't divided these yet, so they're going to need to be divided. They were washed. So this here is, all right, these right here, this is Tiny Treasure. Those are too desiccated. That won't bloom or anything. That won't even start. Basically dead. So again, okay. But the rest of these look really good. I mean, that looks like healthy, happy tubers. This one is Cherish. So what I'm going to do is I've got to clean off. Uh-oh. So here's what can happen. This is a mushy, is really gross. Feels like a mushy potato. That's a mushy tuber. So that one's going to go in the garbage, but the rest of this clump is great. So these are individual, they're going to be individual dahlias once I trim them. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, maybe 7. If they all have eyes on them. So once I clean them up a little bit, then we'll trim them and take a look and see what we've got as viable. All right, this one, like I said, oh, Fluffles. Jeez. Had to come back and read it a second time. Look how big some of these tubers are. Yeah, so I can already see, like this tuber here, here's the neck, and here's the head, the top of the head that has the eyes in it, and it's looking good. So again, pull these out. We'll clean up, clean the vermiculite off of them, because this vermiculite was slightly dampened so that they could stay at kind of a constant humidity in my garage. This one's Amber Queen, I think. Yeah, Amber Queen. And here's another mushy tuber. Actually, this one has been eaten. So at Fish Ranch, I was having gopher or mole problems, and they were eating the tubers. So that's what that is. So this one is not viable, but I knew that at the time. This one is not viable because the neck is broken and the eye would be up here. So we'll go over all this. Some of these are not labeled because I couldn't tell when I pulled them up what they were, because the label or the stake had gotten lost. But that's okay. Surprise dahlias. I don't really care. And again, a couple, I mean, for the most part, all these look really, really good. Cornell Bronze. Oh, this is a good one. This is an important one. There's only 2 there, but that's fine. Candlelight is a single tuber here, but it's huge. This is actually the original mother tuber. Huh. I wonder if it'll pre-sprout still for me. We'll give it a shot. This is Beth Ann. Looks like there's probably maybe 1, maybe 2 on that one. Frank Holmes. There's a lot on that one. Now this is just an individual tuber that I popped in here because it has a neck and it has a head with eyes. So I don't know what it is, but I'm going to sprout that, pre-sprout that. Same thing with this one. And I don't know what it is, but it looks great. It's got a neck, a head, and I see eyes on it, even with the vermiculite. So this one should sprout as well. Like buried treasure in here. Now all this vermiculite is just going to get reused because this is what I use to cover my my seedlings when I sow seeds. Okay, what do we have here? We have Fatima. Oh, and there's a lot of that one. Some of these tubers that drop off, I want to make sure that I don't throw any away that could be viable. Oh, another Fatima. Wow, that one was pretty productive this year. Or last year. Oh, good. A Tiny Treasure. So the other one was too desiccated, but this was a really pretty dahlia. So I'm glad that there was another clump that survived. Okay, what is this? Ivanetti. Yep. This is another classic that I grow year after year. Looks like some good ones on there. Now there's lots of ways to store dahlia tubers over the winter. Some people use sawdust. There's the wrap them in plastic, saran wrap, method. Okay, I think I got them all. I used that one last year, but you get to a point where you have so many that you don't really want to be using all that plastic. So this year I tried vermiculite in this tulip crate. I just laid down a layer of frost cloth to keep it from falling through the, through the holes. Buried them in there, covered them with the vermiculite, covered this up, and put them on the floor in my garage where it was cold and dry all winter. I did lightly dampen the vermiculite, like very lightly damp, So almost basically the only way you know it's damp is that it feels colder than it does when it's dry. That's how damp, not squeeze it out damp. And that was just enough. And it was still it's stayed the same humidity the whole winter. So that's kind of a cool way to do it if you have a location where you can store them. A lot of people I know say but they store them in their basements, which is awesome. We do not have basements for the most part here in California, and we definitely don't at our house, unfortunately. But that would be another good place to store them. So my next step is to separate the tubers that I want to pre-sprout. Now, some people do this in the fall after they wash them. I prefer to wash them and then store them, and then I'll separate them now. Okay, so first I'm going to start with cutting away things that I know are not going to produce anything, like this. The reason I know that is that the neck is broken. If the neck's broken, then you're not going to get any kind of sprouting because it's dead. And here's another, this is broken, this is broken, and this is broken. All right. It's okay, it may seem like a waste, but when you consider when you order a dahlia tuber, you're getting a single tuber, and in the course of a season, this is how much it produced in one season. So don't freak out if you have some that just aren't gonna hack it. This is how you multiply your stock of dahlias. All right, so this, I'm still gonna try to save this one potentially. I don't know, this might be tough. So if you look here, here's the neck, and then it kind of joins this area here, but there might be some eyes in here, but I'm not positive. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut this stalk kind of in half here to help myself better divide Okay, there we go. All right, now this tuber kind of desiccated and a little bit like broken here. I'm not sure if this is going to work, so I'm going to see what else I've got on here that's a better candidate. Now this right here is a great candidate. I'm going to cut this tail end off where the roots are. It's a good candidate because it's got a neck and it's got eyes. I don't know if you can see that, but there's even one right there getting ready to sprout. So in order for a tuber to be viable, it has to have a strong neck to support the tuber, and it has to have eyes. So this one for sure is going to get pre-sprouted. Now I need to keep track. Normally I would keep track of what they are, but because this was a clump that wasn't named, I'm going to put this in a tray by itself. They'll just be surprise dahlias. Okay, so this area here, also, this neck is a little, we'll see, but it's still attached. I'm going to cut off this chunk here because there's a bulb here, like a thicker part, that is probably going to produce eyes. All right, so that one will get pre-sprouted. Still got some dirt on it. Okay, and then this one, I think I'm still going to try because I see some spots here that might develop eyes, but I'm a little cautious about that. Yeah. Okay, I'm still thinking about it. This, not going to work. It's broken neck. This one will work because it's got a nice lump here. Problem is going to be getting to it. So I'll cut through here. This feels awful when you first do it, but it's okay, really. It really is. Okay, this is a good tuber. Got a good neck on here, and we've got this the protrusion where the eyes are going to come out. So we're going to save this guy. We're just going to leave it just like that. All right, I'm going to give it a try. I can't promise that will actually do anything, but we'll see. Okay, and then we're left with this honker of a tuber that already has eyes getting ready to sprout. So this guy's definitely going to get pre-sprouted. So that is what I'm going to do now. Go through this whole tray, cut off viable tubers, and get them all set up, and then we'll move on to the next step. Okay, so dahlias are divided. Now we're moving on to the next step, and this is potting them up to pre-sprout them. Now you can just do this in a regular tray, which I was going to do, but some of these are kind of big, and this will make it easier for me to label everything. So I'll show you what I'm talking about. Looking for a good one to demonstrate with. Okay, so I've just got I have tons of these I've been saving for years from stuff that I bought at nurseries, and so I hang on to it until it completely falls apart, and I just keep reusing it for things like this. So I've got it full mostly with the same potting soil that I started the ginger in. Now I'm going to take the dahlia tuber, and when I plant dahlia tubers in the field, I'll usually plant them on their side down below the soil level. But when I'm pre-sprouting dahlias so that I can take cuttings, I leave the neck and the head above the soil level, so it's a lot easier to make the dahlia cuttings. So it's very simple. All I'm going to do is poke that guy in the soil like that. And so here is where the cuttings are going to sprout from. And now all I have to do is put a label in here. This one is Fatima. I'm going to put a label in here and stick it in a tray, water it daily or when the soil needs it, and eventually they'll start getting sprouts, and then I can take cuttings from those and pot those up as well. This is another way to multiply your stock. Anytime you divide tubers or take cuttings from a tuber, you're going to get a plant that is identical to the mother plant. If you save the seed, you're going to get a surprise, unless you have grown that isolated from any other variety that can't be pollinated by insects or anything like that. So now I'm going to get started labeling everything, and then I'll pot everything up and then water it all in, and we'll be good to go for dahlias for now. All right, that job done. The real challenge now is finding a place to put them in here. I mean, every surface is covered. I do have a spot here, and I can move this stuff and put them up there. But everywhere else is pretty much covered, and I can't cram these too close together because I need to put lids on them at night to keep things from eating them. So I'm kind of limited. I think for now, since I don't need this table at the moment, I can leave these guys here on the table, but next week when I need to start more seeds, I'll have to move them. But this should be okay for right now. I also wanted to show you what I did yesterday. This is Comfrey. So Comfrey is a garden powerhouse. It does so many amazing things for the soil, but it also makes an amazing fertilizer. Pretty stinky because it's like a fermented plant juice, but it's super good for plants. Amazing. And it's really hard to find. Like you can't find seed for Comfrey. In some places in the country, it grows wild and it's not a problem for people to find it. But here, it's kind of a challenge. Also, because we are so dry in the summertime, obviously not right now because it's been raining a lot, it has a hard time. So normally what Comfrey would want full sun and, moist, well-draining soil. Here, it kind of needs a little bit of shade, not total shade, but a little bit, otherwise it just dies. So I got a 10 pack of root cuttings, which is a great way to start a plant. And all I did was pop them in these pots, in these little 4-inch pots, and they're going to stay in there until they start putting on a lot of growth. And then I'm going to find places for them in my home garden, you know, in the veggie garden up front, back here behind the greenhouse where it's shaded, and out at the farm. So they'll have lots of different environments, and we'll see where they grow the best. But it's my choice, my best choice for fertilizer. I do use fish emulsion and kelp, which is great too, but this comfrey juice, like fermented comfrey juice, is amazing for plants. So, all right. I'm going to clean up in here. That's going to be it for me for today. Thanks for joining me for working on dahlias. The other batch of new dahlia tubers is coming, I don't know, I think in April. I have a whole bunch of stuff coming in April. Like, I think next week the lilies are coming. Oh, so that's another thing I wanted to say. Because I've had such a nightmare with the gophers out at the farm, what I'm going to do for the lilies, they're going to go in one of the 4x6 beds that's, you know, up in the far part of the property that I haven't put compost on yet. So what I'm going to do is, with all that, I have lots of extra wood there. I'm actually going to build a raised bed and just a box. And I also have lots of hardwood cloth up there. I'm going to staple down hardwood cloth on the bottom of that, then fill it with compost for the lilies, because those lily roots will be prime juicy deliciousness for gophers and moles, and I don't want them to have them. So that's the plan, and I will just use that lily bed, you know, over and over again. I might build a second one to put next to it. For the dahlias, I probably will put each of these, when I plant them at the farm, I'll probably put each of them in a gopher cage. That's going to be expensive, but I kind of don't care at this point. I would much rather spend the money up front on a gopher cage that I can reuse for many years. I can even make some out of hardwood cloth, but to protect this investment than lose it all to gophers, because again, tubers, they love them. So that is the plan for dahlias and lilies. And tomorrow it should be sunny. Tomorrow is Thursday, I think. Thursday and Friday are supposed to have sun and rain again on Saturday. So tomorrow and Friday, big days. Try to get as much compost moved as possible, because next week I actually need to plant into that big 10x40 bed that I'm putting compost to. But I'd also like to build the lily bed because, like I said, the lilies are coming, I think, next week. Thing about lilies is, as soon as you receive them, you need to put them in the ground or in their pots. Lilies are very sensitive to daylight, but also temperature. So they will start sprouting as soon as they get out of like close to freezing temperatures. So they are kept in a walk-in cooler at almost freezing until they get shipped to us. And once they get shipped to us, they start working on sprouting in the bag on the way to us, because a lot of times we'll open the bag and they'll already start being sprouting. So you've got to get them in the ground right away, or you're going to lose that crop. So I have to have that all prepared and ready for them, and then it's just a simple task of planting them. So this will be the first time I'm growing lilies out in the field. The last 2 years I've grown lilies in a 4x4 raised bed inside the glass greenhouse that was over at Fish Ranch. So they were protected from, they got tortured by mice last year. The green tops, every time they would sprout up above the surface, the mice in the greenhouse would shear them off, but they ended up growing up, and I ended up getting a beautiful lily harvest out of them. But I think they're going to face a lot more danger in the field. So I definitely want to protect them as much as possible. All right. Thanks again for hanging out with me. I hope you guys have a wonderful time in your garden, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.